but they will be met with very heavy force.
What's happening in L.A., and by that I mean the citizen pushback against Trump's own personal insurrection against an American city, it's pretty remarkable to hear Trump and this other obese dotard attack Americans standing up for their freedom, their friends, and their neighborhoods. First, Homan said he was considering arresting the governor of the state.
Could Governor Newsom or Mayor Bass be arrested? I said, well, no one's above the law. Absolutely they can.
Then, of course, he backed off.
I never threatened to arrest Governor Newsom, so I'm not biting off on that. It's just...
Then Trump said he wanted him arrested, and then this bimbo came along and called the millions of honest, hardworking Americans living in Los Angeles criminals.
The fact that people have the right to peacefully protest and that they're a city of immigrants, well, they're not a city of immigrants. They're a city of criminals because she has protected them for so many years.
Now it's MAGA Mike's turn. Yeah, that's your little speaker. This pathetic little cuckold sat next to Trump as he joked he'd like to see Newsom tar and feathered. Now, that might make some of these MAGA hillbillies laugh, but that's a threat on somebody's life. Not that some red-capped redneck would even understand the reference, but Mike Johnson is encouraging Trump's moron militia to attack Newsom.
Throughout history, many societies have used tarring and feathering for both punishment and humiliation. The practice reaches as far back as the 12th century. And despite the fact that most people associate the ritual with the late 18th century, the last known instance occurred as recently as 1981. Tarring and feathering quickly became a favorite method of punishment and humiliation among the colonists.
Max has been here 10 years. The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me, let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community, I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up, they need to stop, and we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
So let's get some perspective here, okay? Last week, Los Angeles residents were doing what they do. They were going to work, they were going to school, maybe headed to the beach. Now it's a war zone.
Another explosive night in Southern California as protests continue over immigration raids. Police and crowds facing off in Los Angeles and Orange County. This morning, law enforcement is gearing up for a fifth day of unrest. Here's a look at the latest developments. President Trump is mobilizing an additional 2,000 National Guard members to help protect federal buildings in L.A. Now, that doubles his initial deployment. Also, 700 U.S. Marines are headed to L.A. The Marines are from an infantry battalion based in 29 Palms. The LAPD says more than 70 people were arrested over the weekend and 5 police officers were hurt. The Trump administration's decision to put more boots on the ground is being met by strong criticism from LA leaders.
Attorney General Rob Bonta says local law enforcement had the protests under control.
Trump and Hegseth jumped from 0 to 60, bypassing law enforcement expertise and evaluation. They threw caution to the wind and sidelined strategy in an unnecessary and inflammatory escalation that only further spurred unrest.
Police tell us they declared an unlawful assembly around 8:30 last night. They say people were throwing fireworks and other objects at local and federal authorities. Police say they responded with tear gas and other crowd control weapons. The demonstration started near the Santa Ana Federal Building, where several people were arrested. The protests were triggered by a number of ICE raids carried out in Santa Ana yesterday, including an ICE raid at a Home Depot.
So Trump is doing what he's always done. He's using the threat of violence to get what he wants.
He said if the midterms go the Democrats' way, there's going to be violence. You don't find a problem with that?
You have
that doesn't bother you?
You go back to Charlottesville. We have Antifa all across the country. Charlottesville's been condemned, including
they don't have a central organization. These are people standing up against the kind of violence that you're propagating.
You're telling me this is Donald Trump's fault? This is in the left. Violence is in the DNA of the American left and always has been.
You're high. But I was right. And here are just a few of the times Trump has resorted to calling for violence against people who just disagree with him.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
Liz Cheney this morning saying this, quote, in response, "This is how dictators destroy free nations. They threaten those who speak against them with death."
In the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, you know, they would not do it again so easily. We've become weak. We become weak. And you know what? The audience swung back. And I thought it was very, very appropriate. The audience hit back. And that's what we need, a little bit more of.
So Los Angeles right now is ground zero for American independence. But it's spreading. It's not just in LA anymore.
Back here in Austin, hundreds of protesters are taking to the streets to stand in solidarity with demonstrators in Los Angeles. Local activists are calling for the end to the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration.
It all started here at the Capitol. Hundreds came, people piled in by the dozens from all different backgrounds for the same cause. Now, according to the organization of this protest, Party for Socialism and Liberation, the demonstration is a demand to end the racist detention and the deportation campaign of the Trump administration. For the past 3 days, anti-ICE protests have taken place in Los Angeles, and dozens of protesters have been arrested. Protesters say the Trump administration has falsely labeled those taken to the streets as rioters.
What's happening here is Trump is doing exactly what he did on January the 6th. It all started with this.
We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness.
And ended up with this.
Fuck these Democrats!
And then a reward for those who not only stormed the Capitol, but threatened Nancy Pelosi and wanted to hang the vice president.
If Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election.
The Capitol was overrun. Police officers lost their lives. And the vice president was taken to a secure location because his safety was in jeopardy. Let's take a look at the effect of Donald Trump's words and actions.
I hear the Pence just caved. You politicians are going to get drugged through the streets.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
Hostages, yeah, that's rich. And then this Saturday, Trump will have a $50 million parade for his birthday, complete with tanks, high mobility artillery rocket systems, which were used to launch rockets in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. And there'll also be a static display of precision-guided missiles and a flyover by F-22 fighter jets. About 7,000 military personnel are going to be involved in the parade, which is going to run down, you love the irony of this, Constitution Avenue.
I'm personally, truth be told, I'm not a parade kind of guy, to be honest with you. I hate parades, even when I was a cadet at West Point. But this is an indication of mission creep foisted upon the Army I think, by the politicians.
But to no one's surprise, Trump is threatening violence to anybody who dare protest his birthday parade.
We won the war, and we're the only country that didn't celebrate it. And we're going to be celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protester who wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, you know, this is people that hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force.
But at the end of the day, I don't think Trump is behind all of this on his own. I think when you look at Project 2025 and you see the likes of Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon, you get an idea of this was a plan all along.
Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President
habeas
Lincoln
corpus,
used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people.
I just wanted to say, look, welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here. We'll replace it with this right here.
Amen.
It's the enemy from within.
And of course, back to Mike Johnson, who wants to tar and feather Gavin Newsom. This little prick wants to pretend he's a tough guy, but the truth is he can't even stand up to this pustulant skin tag. Trump wants to be a dictator, but I have to ask you this. Do you trust this obese sociopath who can't even run a casino with the nuclear codes? That's a rhetorical question because we all know the answer.
Goddamn right. I don't want to talk about this stuff. Am I wrong?
Yes.
TikTok.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.